So let's expand our knowledge of how to interpret z-tables. On Friday, we looked at all values less than our z. So if I'm looking for what is the probability of being at my score and less, or the number of students that scored at least my test grade, and my z-score happened to be at 0.93, can you see where on that table do you get a probability score of 0.93? What would be that value? See it? You look like you were looking right at it. What is it? Did you get 82.38? So again, here's going to be your 10th value that you're going to look at. You're going to come across and find your 100th value right here. So about 82.38% of the students scored at least as well as I did on the test. That's less than our z-score. Now let's look at our greater than z-score. We have two options of doing greater than. That is, everybody, what's the percentage of students that scored better than you did on the test? Option one is to find the z-score. So we're going to do all values greater than our 0.93, and that was again 0.8238, and subtract that from 1. So 1 minus 0.8238, I get 17.62% of my students scored better than you did. Or you have another option. Take your value, 0.93, and flip the sign. Find negative 0.93 on the table. So if I go to negative 0.93, I get what? 0.1762. So you can find the value that way. So you have two options if you're looking for who did better than you, or what percentage did better than you did. Subtract it from 1 with the value, or flip the sign and then find that opposite value. Find the inverse of it. Either way will work. So go ahead and let's find these. These are all values greater than the z-score. Z is greater than 0.41, Z is greater than 0.05, Z is greater than negative 0.78. All right, let's see how we did. Did you get roughly 34.09% for the first? If not, let's talk about it. Anybody object to this value? Did you get 48.01% for the second? No objections? What about 78.23% for the last one? Do these numbers look good? Is that what you got? Okay. So again, we're finding who did better than you on the test. All values greater. Next, let's find the probability from the mean to your z-score. So what you need to do is first find your z percentage. So looking at z equals 0.56, I get a probability of 71.23. And then subtract that from, well, where does the mean lie on the probability chart? It lies in between, right? About half. So you're going to take this number and subtract it from 0.5. And I get 0.2123, roughly 21.23%. So same thing as the last one. Well, not the same. What you're going to do is take your score, find it, subtract it from 0.5. That's going to find your percentage or probability between your z-score and the mean. Now note, if you happen to get a negative, let's say that this score is a less than this 0.5, this is going to be a negative. Can you get a negative percentage? Just don't worry about that, just change that to a positive, okay? So you test. Notice these are saying the same thing, from 0 to z, from z to the mean, from mean to z. These are saying the same things. Take these percentages and subtract from 0.5. Okay, let's see how well you did. So if I have a z-score of 0.41, that puts me at 0.6591. And I want to subtract this from 0.5. Did you get about 15.91%? Okay. If I have a z-score of 0.05, that puts me at 0.5199. Subtract that from 0.5. Did you get a z-score of roughly 2%? 1.99, okay. And if I have a z-score of a negative 0.78, gives me a probability of 2177, subtract that from 0.5. Again, have to change that to a positive. Did you get roughly 28.23%? Okay. Why would you want to find this value? Say I want to go backwards. Say I want roughly 30% of my students to get a C. So I would find out what that Z value is from the mean. And then I would do this gets a C, this other percentage would get a B, and then do the same thing to find A and whatever. Lastly, let's find the probability between two Z values. So what's the probability of you scoring between a 50 and a 60? So you're going to take your first Z value and determine the probability of that one. Take your second, find the probability of that. And then subtract the two from each other. And then that gives you your new probability between the two. So find the first, find the second, subtract. That's going to give you your area between the two. Simple enough? Okay, now you try. Find the probability between these two z-scores. Let's check your answers. My z1's 0.41, so that puts me at a probability of 0.659. And I'm going to subtract that to 1.3, which puts me at a probability of 0.9032. So did you get about 24.41%? Okay. Next, I have a z-score of 0.5. So that puts me at roughly 52%. I'm going to subtract that from a negative 0.13. So that puts me at a 0.0968. And does that give you about 42.31%? Everybody find that? Okay. And then last but not least, a 0.78 or negative 0.78. That puts me at 0.2177. Subtract that from my second z-score at 2.34, which is a 0.9904. Does that give you roughly 77.27%? All right.